The first thing I learned was she was living with dementia. And the third morning I got there and she was lying on her bed and she was crying. And she said, I just want to be with your father. And without thinking, I summoned the mother of my youth and I said, well, Mom, you should have thought of that before you started taking such good care of yourself. And she laughed and she said, well, that's life. And from then on, she sort of put it in a box. We preferred to think that she had forgotten, but she never forgot. But she started to rejoin the world again. And she was incredibly gregarious. She liked to have friends. She was curious. She was funny, incredibly competitive. And I always felt that who she was essentially was always there, always intact, different, but intact. And so I took her to a painting class because she was so bored. And they had this painting class for people who were living with memory loss. And I took her to this class and she thought that painting was stupid. She didn't want to go, but I took her there and I didn't expect anything. But her first painting was just wonderful. I was
Wow.
amazed. And I became so interested in what she was doing that it sidestepped my fear. And so I started to learn. I started to relax enough to actually slow down and learn. And the first thing I learned was she was living with dementia. She was not suffering from. She was still living with invention and wit and humor. And it was fascinating. And every time I would share her art with people, their reaction was almost always the same, which was, I had no idea because it was so interesting, her art. And that's when I realized that Alzheimer's is scary, but art isn't. So anytime I wanted to talk about it or share Mom's experience, I would start with the art first because the art was so interesting. It would enable them to relax and want to learn more rather than shutting down.